There have been a number of filmed versions of Hugo's famous tale, though few have remained very faithful to his original storyline. Probably the most faithful is the musical by Luc Plamondon and Richard Cochanti, as well as being one of the most touching. Quasimodo appears to have a great variety of feelings towards Frollo. He has an overwhelming sense of debt towards him, as it was Frollo who took him in and brought him up when his own parents abandoned him. He also fears and respects Frollo, perhaps because Frollo has always maintained a certain distance and has avoided the emotional bond Quasimodo needs. Although Frollo is a father figure to Quasimodo, there remains a certain detachment, even a businesslike quality on the part of Frollo in their relationship. Above all else, perhaps as a result of recognition of all he owes him, Quasimodo has an unquestioning allegiance toward Frollo, similar to the faith Frollo expects as a result of the position he holds, that of moral guardian. Quasimodo displays intelligence, sensitivity, and a desire for love, but he receives no real love in return. Frollo allows Quasimodo to feel this way. He encourages him to feel a debt rather than offer unconditional love, which causes us to question Frollo's feelings for Quasimodo. Frollo saved him and has treated him relatively well, but there is no closeness on his part. He appears to have acted out of a sense of duty rather than as an act of charity or love. Quasimodo is open to love, indeed he offers love and clearly wants to please. Frollo, however, does not offer love. For him, love is replaced by principle, duty, faith and pride in his position. Quasimodo clearly finds Esmeralda very attractive, but he is under no illusion that she could feel the same way about him. Quasimodo shows intelligence, understanding and respect for Esmeralda. He also displays self-awareness and humility, provoking the reader's sympathy and compassion. He is treated as a figure of fun at the Fête des Fous, but he reveals a tender heart, intelligence and sensitivity. Here, we, the readers and viewers, are made aware of the difference between inner and outer beauty, one of the major themes of the piece. Clearly, Quasimodo is a nice guy trapped in a deformed body, a body which causes a certain reaction in others. Yet he does not react in kind. He retains the capacity for love and understanding despite his treatment at the hands of others, which is another of the work's major themes, that of compassion and optimism in the face of adversity and injustice as a result of the capacity for love. Frollo's reaction to Esmeralda is quite different, however. He treats her like dirt and suggests she might be responsible for putting good men's souls in danger through temptation, though all she has done is dance and have fun. The temptation is in the eyes and minds of those who behold her. Frollo shows her no respect or understanding, in stark contrast to Quasimodo. Frollo overreacts somewhat to Esmeralda's very presence. He sees her through the eyes of the protector of public morality and, in his mind, seeks to protect society from the danger she represents. The very idea of kidnapping Esmeralda is a vast overreaction. As protector of public morality, Frollo should act in accordance with the law, whose objective application should serve to protect all of society. Here, Frollo shows he is acting on personal impulse as he instructs Quasimodo to kidnap Esmeralda. This is not for public protection, but for personal gratification, and he is willing to make use of Quasimodo as an instrument of achieving this end. Frollo shows a vindictive side to his character. He abuses his position and shows no respect for either Esmeralda or Quasimodo. Quasimodo shows devotion to Frollo by undertaking to kidnap Esmeralda. He doesn't really understand why, but he accepts Frollo's authority and assumes Frollo is acting in good faith and for good reasons. Esmeralda shows compassion and sympathy for the very man who tried to kidnap her. She shows the capacity for love and humanity. Quasimodo is stunned by Esmeralda's act of charity, and this only increases his admiration for her on a spiritual level. At the same time, he begins to question and doubt Frollo's motives and character. Frollo is revealed as a cold and calculating man who sees his protégé Quasimodo's suffering and does nothing to help him, in spite of knowing the truth. Frollo undoubtedly realises he has done wrong, but he is acting to protect his position and order in society. His total belief in himself and his purpose mean that pain and suffering caused to others who may be innocent in order to deflect attention from his own weakness, which may offer a threat to stability and order in society, is seen as acceptable. It is hard to feel much sympathy for Phoebus. We understand his attraction to Esmeralda, but from the outset she is a plaything for him. It is a purely physical attraction for him, and he pursues his lustful feelings for Esmeralda as he claims he still loves Fleur de Lis. Clearly, he has little real thought or respect for either Esmeralda or Fleur de Lis. Esmeralda finds Phoebus physically attractive and appears to impute something more spiritual in her desire to make it so. She is undoubtedly flattered by the attentions of one she herself finds attractive, and thus fails to see clearly the full picture. All sympathy for Phoebus evaporates when he participates in Frollo's conspiracy against Esmeralda. This is a way out for him as well as for Frollo. Neither accepts responsibility for his actions and is content to see another suffer for their actions, if that means they can avoid repercussions for their own deeds. Fleur de Lis is driven wild by jealousy as she schemes the death of Esmeralda in order to ensure the security of her own future. Esmeralda's death suits Phoebus and Fleur de Lis. They are willing to sacrifice an innocent to cover their own moral or political weaknesses and misjudgments and allow them to pursue their own ambitions. Phoebus and Frollo both occupy positions of some moral authority in society, and they will not allow those positions to be compromised by personal feelings or weaknesses. Phoebus is largely driven by ambition, but Frollo feels that his feelings for Esmeralda will compromise the very position he holds in society. Thus, society itself is in danger of being damaged as a result of Esmeralda's tempting of Frollo. Frollo's position as moral guardian is both a source of pride and a problem for Frollo. He must remain impartial and fair as he represents a mixture of law, morality and religion. In order to be able to judge impartially, he must be above mere temptation. He must, at least to some extent, share the traits and principles of God himself. Frollo is stunned to discover a weakness, his attraction to Esmeralda, which he cannot control. She comes to represent a threat not just to Frollo himself, but to his very position in society. In his mind, she is the criminal, threatening to undermine the very fabric of society. As such, she must be done away with. In a way, then, he is protecting society by trying to get rid of Esmeralda. However, he becomes truly monstrous in offering her freedom if she will sleep with him. He is no longer the protector of society, but a man abusing his position and authority. Of course, Hugo is also criticising what he considers the unnatural position of a priest with respect to the allure of the opposite sex. He appears to be suggesting that it is unnatural and probably impossible to try to rise above nature, and in so doing, Frollo has left himself open to human weakness which neither he nor his position can tolerate. It could also be argued that for Frollo, the religious aspect of his position is little more than a front. It should be borne in mind that the church at the time was very much a political organisation, wielding great power in the secular world and open to corruption. It also offered virtually the only means of education for those wealthy enough to take advantage of it. Perhaps Frollo's conduct represents a more general weakening of the position and authority of the Church, as its position of strength and influence deteriorates, while reason and scepticism are spread by the production of printed material accessible to all, or at least all who could read. While the very stonework and glassware of the cathedral recounted and reinforced the official version of the Christian story and morality with immense and overwhelming size and authority, these could now, with the invention of the printing press, be challenged to the point of destruction by the ideas contained on a piece of paper. All the characters are thus at the mercy of, and perhaps even victims of, the times in which they lived. Quasimodo is transformed from an obedient and faithful servant of Frollo, respectful and afraid, to an anarchic participant in a revolt against Frollo and his position. How and why did this happen? In a nutshell, it is due to love. Quasimodo's love and respect for Esmeralda opened his eyes to injustice and the lack of love and respect shown to him and others by Frollo. Love brings with it a sense of worth and self-respect which he has hitherto been denied. In a way, he is liberated by these feelings. He has come to respect his own inner beauty and spiritual love for others, in direct contrast to the supposed spirituality of Frollo, who is so consumed with lust and desire that he has turned his back on the very principles he was supposed to uphold. Rather than embrace these feelings and try to grow, he decides to quell them. He has turned his back on humanity and has become his position rather than a man fulfilling a role in society. In many ways, Quasimodo's development and turning against Frollo's authority is akin to the Enlightenment movement of the 17th and 18th centuries, challenging the authority of those in power and holding them accountable for their actions. This movement represented compassion and humanity as opposed to the dogma and rigidity of those in authority at the time. Fate is a recurring theme in Hugo's work. Notre Dame was supposedly inspired by a Greek word, anarchia, which Hugo found scratched on a wall in the cathedral. Anarchia means fate, and from this word, found in Notre Dame Cathedral, combined with fragments of other experiences and people he had met, Hugo created the story of Quasimodo, Esmeralda, and the others. Do events occur purely by chance, or is there some element of fate involved? Are we to believe in chaos or divine order? There is no definitive answer to these questions, but clearly Hugo felt it was important to encourage us to think about the way in which our destinies are intertwined, just as the destinies of Quasimodo, Frollo, and the others are dependent on one another.